Everybody, welcome to Web3 Sales Gym. Today we have an amazing guest, Justin from Safary. You know Justin, he's doing a lot of posts on LinkedIn and also very active in his community, and he's building very cool stack for different marketing teams and growth teams. Justin, welcome on the show. Whatever you want to add before we start with questions.
Hi everyone, great to be here. I'm Justin, co-founder of Safary Club. We are the leading network and platform for growth leaders. We founded the first growth community, and now we have a powerful marketing attribution platform helping companies figure out what's working and why in Web3. Excited to dive in with you today.
Let's go. Awesome. Today we're going to talk about the topic that is a bit different, and we're going to merge the BD, we're going to merge sales, we're going to merge marketing and growth. So I haven't seen anybody doing this on YouTube before and on LinkedIn as well. So let's dive into that one. First one, I see a lot of Web3 teams, especially in smaller teams, they're afraid of word sales. So either though their business development team is doing sales and this is all everything that they do, they still call them BD. Everybody's doing BD, and the word sales is like everybody is a bit scared of it in the industry. Why do you think that is happening?
I think that the unspoken culture likely stems from the notion of sales as a one-sided value extracted activity. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's why teams shy away from using this word. It just doesn't fit the vibe. Partnership is by default like a two-way thing. You're
Yeah.
getting value and I'm getting value. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's why sales becomes like a dirty word, if you will, in Web3. But
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there's another element playing out here as well, which is that a lot of teams don't actually sell, if you will, right? They don't gear off of a revenue metric in the traditional way as Web2 companies would. The
Mm-hmm.
sale happens either as a portion of a transaction or something else. And so calling something sales when somebody is not actually trying to get revenue from another company can be misplaced or feel misplaced. So I think the large piece is the one-sided value extractive nature, but I think this other side is where the transaction and the revenue actually comes from.
Makes sense. I didn't think about that way because I never heard about car business development people,
Yeah,
but I heard a lot about car sales people. Okay, good.
absolutely.
Which also, like you also mentioned this thing about BD. So in a lot of projects right now, they actually don't do revenue. They don't sell the product or they don't sell service. They do an interaction, which is like, hey, my friend, let's do something together. So my project grows, your project grows in followers, or we do a cool collaboration together. So the business development in that sense is like less about the actual money on the table, but it's more about other metrics that are on the table, which right now puts the Web3 BD in the place where it's sitting between sales, between marketing, between growth. So what is BD right now? Like, how do you think where BD is the closest? Who is the parent of BD?
Yeah, I think that the truth of the matter is a lot of the companies and the style of their business models are much more business to business than business to consumer, even if they ultimately serve consumers. For
Mm-hmm.
example, a lot of DeFi platforms might be retail facing, but the way that they can get the TVL the quickest and the fastest is by interfacing with getting institutions to put TVL into their protocol. So I think that that's the sort of primary first driver of why partnerships and BD look a little bit different in this current environment. I think the second piece as well is that BD is largely driving, I think it sits the most in a, it, it sits in this like BD sales way, but the
Mm-hmm.
form it often takes is marketing used as a lever. So like you were sort of alluding to, a lot of the things that BD people might do is they might tee up a co-partnership where both them post on Twitter and cross post each other, right? You
Mm-hmm.
might say that's a marketing function, but it comes from the BD person as a signifier of the partnership that they developed. So I think that that is why there is often a murky line between BD and marketing in crypto, is because marketing is often a lever that's deployed by BD teams to show the success of a partnership that they built.
Sure. It's like when you marry marketing and then you marry sales, then the BD is there. It's similar to growth when you marry data and when you marry marketing. There's going to be the same thing. It's like how do we ensure that the protocol, that the project or the company is growing in the most optimal way? Because at different times you can use different leverages. Sometimes it's smart to just do one-on-one sales, but sometimes just easier to go and make a one impactful partnership with a very big partner, which will drive a lot of revenue, growth, and users to you.
Absolutely.
So how do you find the right people that would be available to do those things? And more so over, if you go and you hire salespeople, can a salesperson go and transfer to become these BD people? Or what's your approach for hiring and finding people to drive this growth?
Yeah, I think this is one of the big questions. When you think about your BD hire, if you step back, that person is ultimately there to bring you new business, and to
Mm-hmm.
do so, they need to A, get in front of people that either comes from scrappy outbound or via their existing network, and then two, they need to be able to close them. We recently hired a BD lead about 6 months ago, and we found that candidates were rarely great at both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw really three core archetypes. We saw what we call the hustler, the
Yeah.
networker, and the closer.
Okay.
Um, Hustlers are those people that have a really strong underdog mentality. They're really scrappy. They'll leave no stone unturned to grow both personally and professionally. Uh, and in many ways, they're folks that there are many of these types of folks that are full-time in Web3 today
Mm-hmm.
because they're just trying to make it. So these hustlers are the most common BD profile that we saw. The second is the networkers. Those are people who built an existing network from their most recent job, typically an ecosystem like an L1 or L2 or a VC. These candidates often seem like a strong choice because they may have interfaced with many of the teams that you'd want to close as a company,
Mm-hmm.
but we at least found that it's nearly impossible to vet the depth of their network. The big question on our minds was, once they've left that job, do those relationships still hold? Um, and so, an example might be like if you're a partner today at A16Z, of course everyone wants to talk to you. But if you leave A16Z, is that still the case? And
Mm-hmm.
all those companies that you talk to, do they still
And
have
your
the same
ex.
incentive to talk to you? Exactly. And so we find that, the best networkers can often run through walls, but others might lose access to that network as soon as they leave the company where they built the network. So it can be a sort of double-edged sword for that persona. And the final piece is the closers, right? Strong closers tend to be more senior. These
Mm-hmm.
people have high EQ and the technical acumen to understand like a prospect's business and the metrics that really matter to them. And if you're looking for a closer, I'd say be wary of some of the more senior hires that might have come from Web2 and are used to building out teams. So much of BD today is still about execution. So that's sort of where I think things break out is you're probably in most cases looking for a hustler or a closer, and over time they'll build their network within your company. And it's really hard to find somebody that's that sort of unicorn persona that's can get in front of people, close people, and already has the vastest network in crypto. It certainly exists, but I think it's impossible to vet whether it's truly real or not.
So I agree with you. And that's actually was one of the reasons why I wanted to start this community and this channel, because I wanted to get more people to become closers. Because ultimately, like I'm just being fully transparent, I want to become a closer myself. I think I already made a very good progress since that comparing to the time when I started the channel like 1 year ago. And that's what I just want to get more people on the journey with me. Whoever wants to join and go and grow their skills, like they have more than 100 videos, and I'm doing these interviews with people like you because I want everybody first to learn from myself and then also share it and do it with other people. So it's this educational part is super vital, but another one is the practice, of course. Like you cannot be closer just by reading or books or just watching different YouTube videos or learning different interviews. You still need to go into the world and then apply the thing, because this is actually when you really start learning, when you go and you appear to be one-on-one with the problem, and then you start actually doing that one. That's how you become, that's how you level up, and that's how you become a more pricing, more interesting candidate for any company, and also more skillful professional. And I think it brings more content into the work of a professional when you feel that you can do things on the high level.
Yeah, that's exactly what we found as well. Closing is definitely the hardest skill. And if you happen to find a great closer earlier in their career, you should absolutely hire them. You should teach them how to get in front of people, and their network will also grow naturally over time.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, that's what we found was the skill that we needed the most as well. And when we saw Max, who's our growth lead, pitch our products better than
Shout out to
we
Max.
did, we knew that, yeah, we knew that that was the one. And it could be very powerful as well. So closing is definitely the skill that everyone should spend the most time thinking about if they're a BD lead today.
All right, very cool. So how do you, like, once you find this cool person, let's say that problem is solved, how do you incentivize them? How do you keep them motivated?
I think there are two parts, right? So on the like intrinsic part, I think that it's important that every BD person at your company, until you have at least like a few different sales reps, should be full cycle. And by full cycle, I mean they should be doing lead generation through close. And
Mm-hmm.
that's important so that they can feel the win from closing an account. There are a lot of companies out there that will split those two tasks. They'll be,
Yeah.
one person will be like the hustler, one person will be the closer. And I think that that sort of takes away the experience, as you're saying too, for the hustlers to get the opportunity to close and to like feel the win from the efforts that they did, which are often very manual, time consuming, and research oriented. So I think that on that intrinsic piece, it's important for all the BD reps of your company to be full cycle
Mm-hmm.
until you get to a certain size. On the extrinsic motivation front, I think that it's important to set a minimum expectation for what revenue goal they need to achieve within a time frame, in addition to setting their sights on a larger goal with some sort of financial reward. So for us in Safari, we don't do we aren't structured commission based. We think it's important to have each of our BD people to have like a full salary basically, so they don't have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
But we set their sights on something larger that is that like extrinsic motivation. Um, the way that we do this to like just create an example, like these numbers are made up out of the hat, is like we might say, the expectation is to hit 5K net new MRR within a time period. And for
Mm-hmm.
that, you get nothing, right? Because you already have your salary. Um, if you achieve 7K MRR, we'll give you like a couple $1,000 bonus, right? But if you
Mm-hmm.
hit 10K MRR, we'll give you 10K. If you hit 11K, we'll give you 11K, and 12K, we'll give you 12K. So we have this sort of like sliding scale of like, if you meet the expectation, that's great. You already get a salary. If you, surpass it slightly, we give you a little bit more. If you surpass slightly more than that, then you get a big payout. And that big payout slides directly with MRR for that month. And I think that that is both good and motivating for the person that's doing it, because
Mm-hmm.
that is, it is, if you're getting an extra 10K from a month or two of work on top of your
Amazing.
salary,
Yeah.
that's really awesome. And on the business side, I think that if you asked any founder, like, would you pay, $1 million to get $1 million MRR, everyone would be like, yeah, of course, right? So like, why wouldn't you incentivize people that way as well? So that's at least how we think about it.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the most cool models that I've seen, when you actually get the company goal and then you tie the company goal with the incentives for the BD person, and then when they're going and they're achieving their own personal goals, in fact they're doing something on a way bigger scale. They're doing very good for the company, which is very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Last one. So once you get this person and they're already in place and they're hustling, how to make sure that they're not hustling to the death? That how do you actually find the balance between the KPIs and actually enjoying the process, not feeling down when, like, really down when you don't have the depression when you lose the deal, and that you are feeling good when you close the deal, but it's again not overexcited. So how do you find the balance between the KPIs and enjoying the work?
I think that this is a challenge one, and it differs a lot between like BD and sales and growth and marketing. I think that BD and sales is naturally very process heavy and repetitive. And I think the excitement is still about the thrill of the result. I think that that's why we think about things as like you have a minimum, you have like a normal salary. So you're not like, oh my God, if I don't
Don't die.
close X this way, exactly. If I don't close X, I'm gonna die and like be in financial straits, right? But at the same time, you can still like appreciate the win and the
Mm-hmm.
scales wins that come with that. So I think that that's one piece, is that, um, hustler personas, we met a lot of people along the way who had this, right? Were very much willing to like, basically like work for commission only. And I think that that makes the job that much harder, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
are actually worried about your livelihood, if you don't like close the deal. So I think that that is one piece, is like make sure your people are like set up for success, that like closing or not closing is not going to like affect their livelihood beyond a certain point. I mean, obviously, if they're not hitting the minimum expectation, that's another thing. But in the normal course of business, they're going to be taken care of. That's one thing. But I think the other thing is also about how the company celebrates wins and losses, and that really comes down to company culture. We have in Safary a Ship It meeting, as we call it, Ship It, every Friday, where we talk about both like wins on the engineering side, the product side, the growth side, the sales side. So that's a good opportunity to celebrate like small wins. Like as I mentioned, we have this on the month or the quarter long incentive schemes, but also on the week to week. It's great to be able to say, here are the wins for the week, and also celebrate wins even before they fully close as well. So that's I think one piece of it. On the growth and marketing side, I think it's much more balanced to think about results versus process. The and I say that because I think the growth process is usually more about the excitement of the process than actually the results a lot of the time.
I've heard it a lot on different growth podcasts.
Yeah, it's like a 0 to 1 sort of activity of like you're ideating, you're creating an experience that doesn't exist in your product or platform, and you're executing to make it happen. And it's really this hypothesis-driven activity where it's often unproductive actually to be hyper-focused on the result. And so it's about leading with genuine curiosity and the desire to figure something out rather than like being focused on that result. So the persona that is a growth person is often different and has different internal motivations than a BD and salesperson that has to be much more results focused. So I think that's another core piece of it.
Justin, it was a super insightful conversation, and I think everybody who's watching until this point, you guys all should go and follow Justin on LinkedIn, and I'm gonna do all the links below. And once you're going in the description, you go checking out everything below. Feel free to subscribe to the channel as well. It was very nice to have you on the interview, and thank you so much for the conversation. Maybe in 6-12 months, we're going to do like a second version, doing an overview and recap what changed since the time when we spoke, because right now I see the market is changing, bull run is happening, and everybody's super happy, and salaries are going up. BDs are actually, everybody starts hiring BDs suddenly, and then I want to see how the market changes and adapts. Thank you so much for the interview and for your time, and if you want to say something at the end, feel free.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here and looking forward to continuing the conversation in the future.
Okay, very cool, man. Everybody subscribe to Justin. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.